Hey guys, welcome to WOW. Uh, Thank you so much every week for your responses uh, and emails and all of that. Your emails are always invited and welcome. And let me say thank you so much for checking out the website. And uh, I had mentioned last week I have a brand new series coming out called Extreme Makeover. And so I think it's one of the more intensely in depth series of teaching the renewal of the mind than I've done in some years. So the Lord had showed me some things and I am excited about that coming out. Nashville says it'll probably be next week, but I will let you know when it's available. But thank you again for all that you do to support the ministry and be a part of it. And so many of you are not able to go minister to others in congregations like I do. And so your support really is how I do what I do. I want to share with you something very quickly this morning. I am a big fan of watching the HGTV of where they redo homes and all of that. I love that stuff. And maybe it's just in me. I love the repurposing. There is one particular program, and I'll leave it unmentioned, but they will go in and buy an old house and use some of the old material and repurpose it for something else. They may make a table out of it, a wall out of the wood, and so I'm seeing my signal is keeping on saying it's trying to reconnect, so I hope we don't have any issues. But the thought come to my mind because that's what I enjoy, is the repurposing. And I had this thought, why don't we repurpose our problem? You know, and you've heard me say this multiple times if you've watched these videos enough and heard me speak enough. I am a firm believer that not everything bad is evil. And, you know, there are many times what we go through, I know religion calls it the devil, but I would almost call it a decision, because a lot of things that we go through were decisions we made. The goodness of God is not getting you out of a problem the devil put you in. It's getting you out of something that you got yourself in. And we've all gotten ourselves in stuff that we look back and say, whew, where is that refund line? I wouldn't do that again. And so the religious world calls these things sin. But, and you that know me, I love to study the word deeply. And one of the earliest Hebraic words for the word sin is het. Het. Of course, in the Hebraic phonics, it is C-H-E-T, but the C is silent, het. And het means this, to take a step down, to be demoted, an opening that leads to another realm. So what I want to tell you this morning is, stop beating yourself up over maybe what you've done wrong, because that is simply a waste of time. And you start seeing it as, now I have a new audience. I have a new arena. So let's view sin not so much as an act of failure that condemns your mind, but it's a demotion that allowed you to enter another level, and it can actually be used as a ministry to pull other people up. Hell is not just a place of flames like religion scares the hell out of you. Hell is the state of mind where worry and regret keeps you and halts you to a degree that you don't bring others out. What you're going through is hell if you haven't found your ministry in it. Hell only lasts as long as ministry is not found. And so Jesus descended to the lowest bellies of the earth, the condemning state of man's mind. That is the lowest bellies of the earth. To not think like God, and to think righteous, to think redeemed. Do you remember the story? And I'm going to give you a few instances very quickly, because now that churches are opening back up, and thank God here in Tulsa, they lifted the mask mandate yesterday. You still want to be cautious, walk in wisdom, but I see many people are able to go back to church now. I'm all for people having a community of believers, but you don't always go to church for the revelation, and some of you can attest to that. But I want to stay on this theme right now, and I may continue it next week on repurposing your problem. We go back and look in the book of Jonah, and even Sunday school kids are familiar with Jonah and the whale. And I'm going to synopsize this, but Jonah was a Hebrew called by God to go tell the people of Nineveh that God was going to judge them in 40 days. And so Jonah got on a ship. He didn't want to go to Nineveh. So he was headed in the opposite direction, and the ship got in a storm, and everybody on board was praying to their God, and Jonah was asleep. And I always wondered why Jonah was asleep. He was asleep because he was a Hebrew. The Hebrews had already been through the water, so the water didn't scare Jonah. And when they woke him up, they said, "Why don't you pray to your God?" He said, "Hey, the reason you're going through this is because I'm going the wrong direction. We've all made wrong decisions. We've all gone the wrong direction." And he told him, he said, "The answer to your problem is this: throw me overboard." And they felt bad about it, but they threw him overboard. He was not afraid to be thrown overboard. I mean, if I was on the Titanic, I'd be saying, "Give me something I can hang on to. Don't throw me overboard." But this guy said, "Throw me overboard," because water did not scare the Hebrews. They had already been through it when Pharaoh chased them. And you know the rest of the story. The big fish, the whale, swallowed Jonah, and he was in his belly for 3 days and 3 nights. And instead of a ship taking Jonah to where he was supposed to be, a whale did. And the whale spewed him out of his mouth, because the enemy can't digest you. Not when you walk in faith. The enemy cannot digest you. And when he got on shore, he walked for about a day, and he started telling people, hey, Jehovah is going to judge this place if you all don't change. Now, Nineveh was a very metropolis place. It was very updated. It was, how would I put it? Nineveh was like the LA or the San Francisco of our today. They were the progressive movement, which I don't agree with half of their scabola, and that's Greek for crap. But that's what he was dealing with. Jonah didn't want to go there because he did not like these people. He did not like them. And it's hard to minister to who you don't like. And some of you, do you hear me? Some of you can attest to that. It's kind of like, let them go. They deserve it. And so he started prophesying what God had told him to. And all of a sudden, the king of Nineveh heard of what Jonah was doing. But see, what the scriptures do not tell, but only history of the Judaic understanding reveals. Do you remember when Pharaoh chased the Hebrews through the Red Sea? It is recorded in some history of the Hebraic understanding that the Pharaoh had his men chase Israel through the Red Sea, and they were all drowned. There was one survivor of the Egyptian army, and it was Pharaoh. He didn't go into it. History says he moved on, went to Nineveh, and became the king of Nineveh. So when he heard Jonah saying God is going to judge this place if you don't turn around and start making better decisions, Pharaoh heard of this, and he told the people, we are going to turn around, because this Pharaoh had already been through 10 plagues. He had already seen what happened at the Red Sea. And so God used Jonah to wake Pharaoh up. Do you realize Pharaoh became a minister of the Most High God? Absolutely amazing. So here's the thing. Jonah could have been aggravated. And the question is, do you live by reason or revelation? In the book of Acts, the 27th, 28th chapter, it's recorded, and you guys can read this later. I don't travel with my Bible in front of me. But the Apostle Paul was headed to Rome, and he got on a ship, and the navigators of the ship, the captains of the captain of the ship really made some bad decisions, and it got in a storm for weeks, and the ship was torn apart, but every one of them survived, and they floated on whatever they could float on and ended up on an isle called Malta. Now, we read over this and don't think much about it, but Malta's name means an unfamiliar place, an unfamiliar language. It's the place you didn't plan on being. How many of us are in a place we didn't plan on being? Welcome to Malta. And so the islanders there, the scriptures and some translations call them barbarians, but actually they were very kind to these 273 men that floated up on the island, and it was cold, and they said, let's build you a fire. And so the Apostle Paul, because many of us, including myself, yourself, you go through things you're thinking, I didn't ask for this. Somebody else brought me to the struggle I'm going through. But can you repurpose your problem? And I see all you guys chiming in, and I am so glad you're watching. Spiritual maturity is being able to repurpose your problem. And so, anyway, all these guys, 273 of them, have floated up on the shores. The islanders find them. And in the back of your Bible, you'll see little maps and all that stuff. And you'll find Malta. It is just a little bitty island. And you may be thinking, why am I where I am? And so the Apostle Paul was like, okay, I'm going to help them gather the wood for the fire. And you all know this in Acts 28. When he reached in to grab some firewood, a snake bit him. Now, it was a very, very venomous snake. And in Acts 28:4, I think it is, the islanders said, well, this is the goddess Justice that got him because he deserved it. But in the next verse, the word says that Paul just shook the snake off and had no ill effects. Well, Mark, am I affected by what I've been bit by? Do you get on Facebook and tell people your woes? Then you've been bit. Are you on a prayer list? And I don't want that to aggravate you guys. But if you're on a prayer list, you've been bit because you don't know how to repurpose your problem. Okay? And so he was going to Rome to minister, even though a prisoner. So he knew he couldn't die on Malta. When you realize where you are is just a stopping off point for ministry. Stop looking at your failures, your sin. Oh, God, forgive me. God, forgive me. God, forgive. What do you need to be forgiven of? You entered a lower level of the earth to minister to someone, to bring them out of it. I'm not saying go do something stupid, but we've all done something stupid. And if I could really help you out, and you may think I'm Dr. Phil today, but please get off the why. Why did this happen? Why am I going through this? I didn't deserve this. If you are in the I didn't deserve this mentality, you are relying on your works. And I'll just say it straight up. Faith, and I have a lot of faith friends, and I consider myself a man of faith, but faith doesn't prevent the snake bite. No. The question is, can you shake it off? How do I know I've shook it off? How do I know I have repurposed my problem? The islanders, they just knew Paul was going to die because it was a venomous snake. They just knew he was going to die. But he shook it off in the fire, and it didn't just bite him, it hung on to him. So he had to shake it off of him. You know? Now, my question to you this morning is, what is your Malta? What is your unfamiliar place? What is the place you didn't plan on being? And other people are watching you. Islanders, barbarians. That means they don't speak your language. They don't know your culture, but they're watching you go through what you're going through. Can you really be a Christian? Christianity is not, oh, I'm going to heaven because I believe in Jesus, as much as it is, I know how to repurpose a problem. And again, we all have problems. Look at the Apostle Paul. It was rainy, it was cold, he was in an unfamiliar place, and he did not ask for what he was going through. Because see, some other people can bring you into a struggle. But until you can see your opportunity is literally the product of your adversity, then you're not going to get off that island. In Acts, and I'm going, what is it? Acts 28, Acts 28, the 7th verse, the word says, because Paul shook off the snake and the snake bite didn't affect him. And again, what is your snake bite today? It could be a kid, it could be a relationship, it could be a boss, it could be the economy. Whatever your snake bite is, you shake it off in the fire and it has no effect on you, it's going to draw people's attention. Stop trying to witness with a billboard on a street corner or a Bible tract on a urinal in a truck stop. Oh my God. Those things aggravate me. And that's just me. If you're a Bible tract guy, that's fine. Just don't scare people with hell to get them saved, or you are totally out of order. You get people to believe in the mind of Christ so they can move other people off of the island they're on. Some of you today, and I've been there, I'm not saying this because I don't have problems with it. Some of you today are stuck on your Malta. You didn't ask for it. Somebody else's decision brought you into it, but this is where you are. And when the chief, Publius, in Acts 28, I think, the 7th or 8th verse, when Publius, the chief of the island, heard of what happened to Paul and he didn't die, he asked him over for dinner, and he just treated Paul like a king for 3 days. And at one of the dinners, it was noticed by Paul that Publius's dad was sick with a fever. And Paul, the scripture says, laid hands on him and he was healed. The same hand that the snake bit is the same hand that healed the sick. Stop beating yourself up because you made a bad decision or you're in a situation that somebody else made a bad decision. Use that same hand that you were bit on and heal somebody else. Pharaoh, who escaped the drowning of the Red Sea, God protected Pharaoh because he knew Jonah was coming to Nineveh, and Nineveh wouldn't listen to Jonah, but they would listen to the Pharaoh. So I hope this helps you today to use what you've been through to help other people get out of it. Everyone, you will never reach a place of faith where you don't have a problem. That would be called the cemetery. As long as you live, there's going to be problems because you and I were created for ministry. And so I encourage you today, stop just feeling bad about your wrongdoings and look around to help people. And as you're helping people, you're going to get bit. But the same hand that you were bit on is going to be the hand that heals someone else. So I hope that helps you today. I hope it gives you some encouragement. Don't feel like, oh, Mark Shell told me it's okay to go and sin. I can develop a ministry. Don't put yourself through hell if you don't have to. Oh my God. I know marijuana is legal now in most states, but don't smoke that dope. Oh my gosh. But you are going to go through things. And don't let any preacher make you feel bad about what you've done wrong. Your joy comes by knowing what I was bit by, someone else is going to be healed by. It's called the Samson anointing, and that's what this ministry has been based on for years and years. Samson came by on his way to Timnah. A young lion come out to destroy him. He tore the young lion apart. Judges 13, I believe, is where you can find that. He tore the young lion apart. He comes back by. There is a beehive, a honeycomb inside the carcass of the lion. He reaches in and pulls out the sweetness of the honey. So his riddle of life was this: out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong came something sweet. That's the riddle of our life. I'll solve it for you. What was sent to destroy you, your confidence, your character, your love, reach in it and pull out the ministry to help others. Because the truth of the word is, as you give, it will be given to another. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. What you put into men is going to come back to you. Paul ended up all right. Samson was able to minister. And I hope you find your ministry and stop asking the why of your misery. You never get set free until you set someone else free. So anyway, I call you guys blessed. I call you whole. I call you healed. And whether you or someone else put you in a precarious situation you didn't even want to be Don't be afraid of the snake bite. The snake bite that you've suffered is what's going to help set others free. So anyway, if you're going to church, you all have a great day. If you're not, thank you for watching this. I certainly appreciate, again, everything you do to be a support to the ministry as we help others. Y'all have an awesome, awesome day.